Hello and welcome back to some more Blender tutorials. Today we are going to be doing some chair making and some cup making. So first off, we're going to start by pressing Shift A to add in a cube, and then we're just going to press G, and I'm going to press Y, and I'm just going to move it to the side here, and I'm going to press S to scale it down. Maybe scale it up a little bit, press S and then Z to scale it down on the Z axis. That's a good thickness right there. So now what we're going to do is press Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to turn off proportional editing. Yours might be off, it might be on. Basically, if it's blue, turn it off. We don't want to use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control R, and I'm going to make two loop cuts by move my mouse wheel up, and now I have two loop cuts. I'm going to press that, and then I'm going to cancel the movement by right clicking, and then I'm going to do the same here. And now we have this kind of square pattern here, and basically we want to make the chair legs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be holding down Shift, and I'm going to select all of these squares. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to turn on individual origins. Now when I press I and I move my mouse in a little bit, you can now see that we're actually inserting these faces. So I'm just going to make them kind of small, like that, and then I'm going to swap over to medium point, the medium point here. And basically now when I scale it, it's going to scale based on the center point. So I'm just going to press Shift Z, that way we don't scale anything up and down. And then I'm just going to press it there, and that looks good. And then I'm just going to press E and extrude that down, maybe a little more. And now we have a base legs for the table. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some loop cuts here, add some here. Now I'm going to take this and press F to fill. Same for this part. I'm just filling all of these in, making sure we got the right side to the right side. There's that. And then I'm going to do it for here. So I selected one on this side, one on this side, fill that, select one on this side, one on this side, fill in the edges, and there we go. Then I'm going to press this and just select the bottoms of these, press G, press Z, and I'm going to pull them up. There we go, that looks good. And then I will add another loop cut here. And I'll add probably one more here in the middle, and then we're going to do the same process but for this side. That looks good. So then we just fill in the edges here, and there we go. We have a good support for our chair, and then we're going to insert some additional faces here for the back of the chair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press individual origin. That way when I press insert, it's going to scale down based on themselves. It might actually do the same thing when might still do the same thing even when you have medium point, but it's just a practice to make sure you do it every other time. So then I'm going to scale that out, use individual origin to scale it in a little, pop back to medium point, scale it, and I'm going to move it back a little. That looks good, and I'm going to press this right here and select the cursor. Now I'm going to press this here to go onto side view, And I'm going to move the cursor probably here, and you'll see why, because we're going to be learning how to use spin. So basically, we have those two faces selected, and we want to basically kind of give them a curve. So what we're going to do is we're going to be using these up here, press X or Y, whichever one gives you the kind of this little arc that you need, because as you see, I'm going to move it out and it's actually going to arc back a little. So I'm just going to make those a little more steps, like 15 steps sounds good, although if your computer can't handle it, then just maybe do 10 steps. So I'm going to now fill in the space between these two right here. There we go. And I'm going to add 2 loop cuts here. Those look good. And maybe, no, okay. I was going to scale them out, but it didn't really work, but that's okay. So I'm just going to fill in this part here, go down, skip one. I accidentally used the, I must have accidentally used the spin. I don't want to do that. I'm going to move back. Make sure you move back to select box so you don't make the same mistake I made. But that's all good. We're going to press this here, fill in this. You know, just go ahead and go through that process. I'm going to do one more. And then I'm going to see how that looks. And that looks like a chair. So now basically, I'm just going to go to the material here, the material properties, and I'm going to press this drop down, and I'm going to choose this material we made. And there we go. We have a wooden material for this now. So now we're going to make the cup, and it's actually, the cup's going to be pretty easy. We're going to spawn in a cylinder using Shift A to add, and we move the 3D cursor over, so it's going to show up here. So basically, we're going to want to give about 45 vertices. If your computer can't handle that, then it's okay if you bring the vertices down. We're just going to press edit mode and go into face select. You can actually swap between vertex, edge, and face select using 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just going to use face select. I'm going to move it up, scale it out a little, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press X, and then I'm going to delete the face that I selected. And here we go. We have a cup, but it's very thin. So I'm going to go over here to the modifier properties. I'm going to add a modifier, and I'm going to be doing something called solidify. So just, you want to make this a little thicker by moving up the thickness, and that looks good to me. So I'm going to press apply, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to press this drop down here and turn on face orientation. As you see, what it did is basically it's showing us if the face is on the inside or the outside. Red is supposed to be on the inside, blue is on the outside. As you see, I actually have some problems with my chair, so I'm going to try and fix that by selecting all of the red parts. So I'm just going to select everything that I see that is red, and our table looks good. So I'm just going to go through this and select all the red bits, and that looks like they're about all. So I'm going to hold down Shift and press in, and what that does is it recalculates normals. So you can make it on the outside or on the inside. And we're just going to make sure that the normals are on the inside. Basically, put simply, everything's facing the right way and the textures are going to show up properly. So now we're going to press this drop down and turn off face orientation. And here we go, we're back. And if you're not seeing the colors, it's probably because you're in this viewport mode. You can just swap between, normal mode and color mode by pressing this. So then we're going to go back to our cup. We're going to select it. We're going to right click and press shade smooth. And as you see, what happened is it now is very smooth. However, there's one problem. As you can see, the bottom of the cup is acting really weird, and that's because technically what it's doing is it's averaging out this distance to this distance, and basically drawing that average path. So it's actually like it's acting as if this bottom part is a dome, and there's actually two ways to fix that. One way is to just right click while you have selected the face and press shade flat, and that fixes it. But you can also, I'm just going to press shade smooth to make it smooth again. You can also add a loop cut and then move this down. So we're just going to move it pretty close, and what that actually does is it adds this kind of curve to it. And then I'm going to go here, I'm going to press I and insert a face here. And now it's a very smooth little bottom, and I'm also going to do the same to the top of the cup, just push that vertice up a little, and that looks like a pretty good cup. And then you can just leave it white, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a glass texture. So I'm going to pull down the preview so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to turn the roughness all the way down so it's a very smooth object, and I'm going to turn the transmission to 1. And as you see, this gives us a glass object, a glass kind of shading or material. You can't really see it here because this is just in like a kind of like a demo of what your colors look like. It's not doing any proper calculations with things like shadows or anything. It just gives you an idea of what the color looks like, and basically that's about it. So we have a glass cup. I'm just going to scale that down, move it down so that it is a little bit inside the table, just to make sure that it is actually sitting on top of the table. If we look down, we can still see the bottom of the cup, so that means it's not too low. And then we're just going to move the chair in, go to the side view, move the chair down, just make it all flat and everything. And then one last step is we're going to press Shift D while selecting the chair, and that basically just duplicated the chair. So I'm just going to move it over, and I'm going to press R and then Z to move it around on this axis, the up and down axis. Scoot it in and make it look natural, so it's not like it's completely perfect or anything. Like the cup can be off center. I'm just going to press Shift and then Z so that I am moving the cup on everything except up and down, which is useful when you're moving things on a flat surface. So I'm just going to move it here, press Shift D to duplicate it, Shift Z to move it around and not up and down, press it here, tap there, and we have a very, very good looking furniture setup. So next we're going to be going over rendering and saving your image file after you're done rendering, but for now that's about it. So I'm just going to go over to File, and I'm just going to press Save As, and I'm just going to name it and then press Save As, and basically, yeah, we're all set. Sorry you couldn't see the pop-up because of how my screen is recorded, but it's pretty straightforward, nothing too complicated. But yeah, that's basically it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.